He leaned back in his chair, folded his arms, and said it calmly, like it was already settled. Everything Dad left belongs to me. You can fight it if you want, but you'll lose. That was the moment the room stopped feeling like my family's dining room and started feeling like a courtroom where I'd already been convicted. I'm 38, a logistics manager living in Columbus, Ohio. For nearly 12 years, my relationship with my younger brother, Aaron, had been polite. Not warm. Not hostile. Just careful. We spoke on holidays. We sent birthday texts. We avoided anything real. After Dad passed, that emotional distance became obvious in the smallest ways. How Aaron sat across from me instead of beside me, how he spoke to the lawyer more than to our mother, how he never once asked how I was holding up. Dad owned several small rental properties. Nothing glamorous. Duplexes. A couple of aging storefronts. The kind of assets that require patience, not ego. For years, I helped Dad with maintenance on weekends, tenant calls at midnight, paperwork he hated. Aaron lived out of state and rarely visited. But he talked big. About vision. About expanding. About how Dad never appreciated his ideas. The betrayal didn't come as shouting or slammed doors. It came as a folder slid across polished wood. Inside were documents I'd never seen, agreements, handwritten notes, claims that Dad had verbally promised Aaron majority ownership years ago. Aaron looked at me with something close to relief, like he'd been waiting to say this out loud. You were convenient, he added, not cruelly, just honestly. Dad needed help. That doesn't mean you were entitled to anything. Our mother's hands trembled in her lap. The lawyer avoided eye contact. And there it was, the humiliation. Not just being cut out, but being reduced. Cast as labor. As background. I asked one question. My voice surprised me by staying steady. Did you plan this before Dad died? Aaron didn't hesitate. I planned for reality. That sentence broke something in me. Not anger. Not grief. Identity. For years, I'd believed being dependable meant something. That quiet loyalty would be seen. In that moment, I realized how naive that was. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't slam the table. I didn't expose the inconsistencies I'd already noticed in the paperwork. I let the silence stretch until it became uncomfortable. Then I said, okay. Aaron blinked. Okay. I'm not fighting you today. The meeting ended quickly after that. Paperwork unfinished. Tension unresolved. Everyone assumed I'd collapsed. Given up. My mother cried in the car. Aaron didn't look back. That night, I sat alone in my apartment and felt everything hit at once. Rage. Shame. Loss. The kind of collapse that doesn't look dramatic from the outside but leaves you staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., wondering who you are when the role you believed in is stripped away. 4 days, I replayed the meeting in my head, imagining sharper words, stronger spines, better endings. I almost called a lawyer out of spite. Almost fired off texts I knew would escalate things. But then something quieter happened. I started reviewing my own records. Years of emails. Maintenance receipts. Tenant complaints I'd handled personally. Rent deposits Dad had asked me to manage. Not to build a case against Aaron, but to understand the truth. The truth was this: I had already been acting like an owner. Just without the title. And more importantly, without protection. 2 weeks later, Aaron called. His voice was tight. There's a problem, he said. Several tenants are threatening to leave. One building failed inspection. Dad used to handle this stuff. You know how. I paused. Not to punish him. To check myself. I'm not involved anymore, I replied. You said everything was yours. Silence. Then, colder this time, so you're just going to abandon the family. That word, abandon, almost worked. Almost dragged me back into the old role. But I heard something clearly then. This wasn't about family. It was about access. I didn't abandon anyone, I said. I stepped out of a position I was never respected in. He hung up. Over the next months, reality caught up with him. Managing properties wasn't an idea. It was work. Tenants left. Expenses rose. The documents he'd relied on were questioned when our mother finally asked her own lawyer to review them. I didn't celebrate. I focused on myself. Took on consulting work for a local property management firm. Built something small but honest. Learned to value my labor as something worth protecting. Nearly a year later, Aaron asked to meet. No lawyers. Just coffee. He looked older. Tired. I didn't think it would be this hard, he admitted. Dad leaned on you more than I realized. I nodded. That was all. I was wrong, he added quietly. About how I handled it. About you. I didn't forgive him in that moment. I didn't need to. The power had already shifted, not because I'd won something back, but because I'd stopped needing his acknowledgement to stand upright. We renegotiated later. Fairly. Calmly. Without theatrics. Here's what I learned. Silence isn't weakness when it's chosen. Walking away isn't losing when it preserves your dignity. And family betrayal hurts most when you confuse usefulness with worth. If you're listening to this and you're the dependable one, the quiet fixer, the one who shows up, remember this: loyalty without boundaries becomes permission for disrespect. You don't have to fight every battle at the table. Sometimes, the most powerful move is standing up and choosing yourself.